It was 2:07 a.m. when my phone lit up on the nightstand. Her name. Something came up at work. Relax, I'll explain soon. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because of the words, but because I'd seen that same phrase before, twice. Once 6 months ago, and once the night she came home smelling like someone else's cologne. I didn't reply right away. Just watched the dots blink and disappear as she waited for me to type. Then I wrote, "No need to explain. Stay with your boss. You're single now," and pressed send. The message left me strangely calm, almost serene. Outside, the city was asleep. Inside, everything was still, except my mind. It wasn't rage that filled me, it was confirmation. The silence stretched until it felt alive. Then came the calls. 3 missed. 5. 9. At 2:28 a.m., the doorbell began ringing, frantic, desperate. Her silhouette through the glass looked small, trembling, barefoot. I didn't move, just watched her shadow on the porch light and realized this was exactly how I wanted it to end. She'd been working late a lot lately. New deadlines, new clients, a new mentor named Daniel, the kind of man who wore confidence like a tailored suit. She said he was just helping her grow. I'd believed her, because love makes you foolish. Because I'd wanted peace more than truth. But peace built on lies is just anesthesia. You wake up eventually, numb, bleeding from the inside. The signs had been there. A different perfume. Laughter that stopped when I entered the room. The way she'd started locking her phone, then facing it downward on the table. Still, I waited. Waited because I wanted to be sure. Because I wanted her to hand me the knife herself. That night, when she didn't come home, I wasn't angry. Just done. There's a moment when trust dies, and everything you shared suddenly feels foreign. Your memories turn on you, each one whispering a different version of the truth. When the doorbell rang again, I finally rose from bed. Not to let her in, but to look her in the eyes through the glass. Her mascara was smudged. Her voice cracked through the wood. "Please, it's not what you think." But it was. It was exactly what I thought. The next morning, I started tracing the edges of her deception. Quietly. No confrontation, no drama. Just observation. I remembered a bill on the counter from a luxury hotel downtown. She'd said it was a company dinner. I called the place, pretending to be from her firm. Asked for a copy of the reservation. 2 guests. Her name and Daniel's. Suite, not dinner. I didn't react. I simply printed it. Then came the bank statements. Small, consistent withdrawals. Gifts. Restaurants. Wine bars I'd never been to. She still kissed me goodbye every morning. Still said, "I love you," with the same practiced smile. But once you know the truth, every touch feels mockery. I began documenting dates, times, receipts, a timeline of her betrayal, neat and complete. She thought she was living a secret life. She didn't know I'd already built a map of it. At work, I functioned as usual. Meetings, emails, polite small talk. But under the surface, everything was rearranging itself. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her quiet executioner. On Friday evening, I asked her to have dinner. She looked relieved, like I was offering forgiveness. She dressed carefully, as if we were going on our first date again. We sat across from each other in a dim restaurant. Her eyes kept searching mine for warmth. There was none left. When the waiter left us alone, I placed an envelope on the table. She tilted her head, confused. "Open it," I said. Inside, printed receipts, photos, hotel records. Each page a quiet confession she hadn't intended to make. Her hands trembled, her lips parted. Then, silence. Finally, she whispered, "You were watching me?" I smiled faintly. "No, you were just easy to read." She started to cry, loud, messy sobs that turned heads from nearby tables. People looked at me, expecting anger, shouting, something, but I just sat there, calm, detached, as if she were a stranger, because she was. When we got home, she tried to explain, said it was a mistake, that she was confused, that it didn't mean anything. I let her speak. Every lie sounded smaller now, stripped of power. Then I told her I'd already filed for separation, that her name had been removed from every joint account, that the house was mine alone, legally. She blinked, lost. You already knew? For weeks. She sank onto the couch, shaking. I watched the realization hit her, that every apology was too late, every manipulation already accounted for. Her tears didn't move me. They just confirmed what I already felt. Nothing. When she reached for me, I stepped back. "Don't," I said quietly. "You had something real once. You burned it for a moment that meant nothing." She tried again, desperate, but I was already walking toward the door. "Where are you going?" she cried. "Somewhere you can't follow." It's been 3 weeks since that night. She still texts sometimes, long, emotional messages about regret, therapy, hope. I don't respond. The house feels larger now, silent but not lonely, peaceful, in a way truth often is after it burns everything false away. I kept one thing from her, the text she sent at 2 a.m. I read it sometimes, not out of pain, but as a reminder of the exact moment I stopped loving her. That night, when she was outside crying, I realized something simple. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. And now that I've seen what's underneath, I'm never going back. "Something came up at work," she said. Yes, it did. Her conscience. And it came up too late. Final line. She knocked that night to come back into my life, but the man who once opened the door for her was already gone.